Hey everyone, I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. It's October 11, 2021. I want to thank all the listeners and people tuning in. I keep getting a lot of emails from a lot of people saying they enjoy the show and they've been listening for a long time. And also people who just found it and they're amazed and the information helps a lot. So that's always really gratifying to hear. This is episode 215. What I'm going to do is what I had planned to do every month, but it stretched out to now 2 months and 2 weeks, is to just go over agency updates and changes for if you missed stuff, and then to add my color commentary. I think that's what they call it. So you can have some fun with it for the listeners. Before we start and get into this, I do want to mention that the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine issue 3 has been published. It's an awesome special edition on O1A visas. Even if you don't handle these visas, I recommend going to immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com/magazine and checking this one out and past issues, because there's so much information. You might be doing, not be doing extraordinary ability cases, but you'll read this issue and it might entice you to get involved in this area. Obviously, there's a lucrative area to be in, but also you help a lot of interesting people with a lot of interesting backgrounds. It's very satisfying. So definitely check that out. I want to thank the sponsors for the magazine. For example, immitranslate.com, am I doing the spelling right? immitranslate.com. And the reason I really want to bring it up right now is because I just had a client over the weekend send them a translation, and they got that done really quick. And it was in Ukrainian too. It wasn't even Russian, so it's a little bit maybe harder to find a translator. But I was just so happy and how low cost it is that I'm really proud to have him as a sponsor. Ian Hawes is the the person or CEO of that company. I've known him personally now for a while, and he's really dedicated to really going deep and creating a really good company. He's even partnered up with DocuWise.com, another sponsor of the podcast and magazine. So you could go through their system on DocuWise when you're working on your cases, and also get translations as well. If you did want to get 10% off the annual plan on DocuWise, I think it's additional 10%. Go to docuwise.com/immigration-lawyers-toolbox and use the code Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. Get that off, and give it a free trial. Just to see how it is. Talk with them, ask questions. It's always good to do that. But I think you'll be satisfied with that's how the ease of use of the website, especially compared to competitors. I think it's a really good thing to try out to get a feel for it and take it from there. So one more thing I want to mention before I go into this is, I already have a course that breaks down how to do the marriage, green card, which is the primary thing I do nowadays, adjustment, admissibility, consular processing, how the contract looks, how to deal with clients in this area, all this kind of stuff. But there was an addendum. Well, there's a couple. I need to add a removal of conditions I-751 portion of that, eventually a NAT section. But I thought, I'm going to do the K1 portion, the fiancé portion, which is an addendum to that, because K1, a lot of people, do them. I try not to do them. I try to avoid that. I try to do marriage cases if possible for various reasons I've talked about before, and I'll talk about in the course. But I'm just accumulating people who want to be part of the live program. So just email me at info@immigration-lawyers-toolbox. If you do, I'm probably going to give a discount for people who join the live and then increase the fee for those who aren't part of live. So reach out to me. One of the things is, for people who want to tune in, I want to talk with them first, see if it's even appropriate for them this course, if they're going to get anything out of it, or if they're going to get a lot out of it, just to set the tone, all that kind of stuff. So email me at info@immigration-lawyers-toolbox.com. If you're interested, I already had a couple of people contact me. So this course is a go. It's just I got to sit down and as you imagine, organize it. There's just so many little court cases, and they're not little, but even for K1, that I want to make sure is in there. And we really go over based on statute, regulations, court history, BIA decisions, all this kind of stuff. So you have a thorough understanding of what's going on with K1, K2, and all the nuance that are dealt with that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I love talking about immigration law. It's just creating courses, not easy, but it's a lot of pleasure. And the marriage green card course, everyone's satisfied. All the students I had, and I got to get video testimonials from them, because then you'll see, wow, these people, it really made a difference for them. But having said that, is there anything else I got to talk about? I think that's it. I hear myself talking really fast, so I need to slow it down. And I guess the first thing we're starting talking about, what's happened to agencies, is I'm basing this on all the news tidbits I post on the LinkedIn page for the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. And I just, everything that comes of news, I just pop it up there. It's almost like a Drudge report for immigration law. You can check it out there. Originally, I wanted to do this, copy paste links like drudgereport.com if you're familiar with it, on the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox homepage, which I did for a while. But it turned out to be a lot of work, and I hadn't marketed the website enough, so it wasn't getting that many hits. So it was a lot of hours. But now I just put it on LinkedIn. But I also have other social media for Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. Particularly what I'm really proud of is the Instagram page, where we're adding dozens, hundreds and hundreds of clips over time every day of different things that are informative. Also job postings and all the new stuff. So if someone's looking for hire a lateral immigration attorney, a new immigration attorney, you're going to find that there with links to where you could find the job postings. So it's going to be a one-stop shop for everything immigration, both the LinkedIn page, but it's particularly the Instagram page. I'm really proud of it because when I scroll down, there's all these thumbnails and it says different topics, business related, literally that running your office and different legal stuff. So you can just pick one out, watch it, 1 minute, 2 or 3 minute clip and get that information. And it really promotes other attorneys that are really working hard in this field. So check it out, Instagram.com/Immigration Lawyers Toolbox, or I think that's what it's called. But if you just search Immigration Lawyers Toolbox on Instagram, you'll find that. So the first thing I want to get into, let's see, okay, let me make sure I can stop this if someone walks into the room really quick. I got paused here. I'm sorry to say this all out loud. There's a pause recording where I'm doing. Okay. So this isn't necessarily U.S. immigration, but our colleague Marco Mazeschi, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He has an article coming up in the November issue 4 of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. He's an Italian immigration attorney. He just announced on a post that Italy does not grant citizenship by investment. Any such program advertised on the web is misleading. So be careful for this kind of stuff. I mean, it's not just the U.S. where immigration fraud is rampant and people will give you false promises. It's all the world, especially as things are getting more and more chaotic everywhere. Now, the Biden administration is making some changes internally and making some interesting decisions on their leadership. In early August, they named a law professor, an immigration law professor, as senior counsel on immigration policy in the Biden's Justice Department. And I actually think they, for ICE or something, the head of it was another former immigration person, illegal. So it's a lot of almost plankton, a private bar. What we're doing, I mean, primarily, I'm guessing the people listening to this, immigration lawyers, are coming administration. Let's see how that actually plays out. I'm always, I'm politics and government. I'm on the pessimistic side, so I don't want to put that too much. It's not good being negative, but that's just how it is. Now, the Department of Homeland Security published a federal registrar notice announcing extensions of initial registration period for 180 days to 18 months for new TPS applicants from Venezuela and Burma, as well as redesignation of Syria. The population of the countries aren't that much that use these programs, but if you got one of those clients, then you definitely want to check it out. Now, U.S., this is from 2 months ago, it's an article by U.S. developing plans to allow vaccinated people to come in despite the travel bans, particularly the EU. Now, I mean, they announced they're going to do that. I don't think there's, as of this date, October, there's been a formal announcement when that day is. I think they said maybe it'll be the first or second week of November. A lot of people got happy, started planning flights, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. I mean, what's taking so long? CBP agents and officers begin to use body-worn cameras. So that's the thing that CBP wants to do. This could be a double-edged sword because some people are going to have records of possible misrep when talking to officers, but that's why you don't do misrep. But it's good to have these camera stuff and then they keep track of what's going on. DOS says, effective today, the U.S. General Consulate in Hermosillo has canceled routine non-immigrant visa appointments from September 1st to December 31st, non-immigrant visas. The embassy and consulate will resume routine visa services as soon as possible. So this was in August. It's disaster. Now, I've seen cases be coming through in Mexico, Sierra Juarez. So there is general movement in the embassy system. And what I do is when I get there's certain embassies I deal with a lot. So I just know exactly what's going on because I'm constantly working with them. But at the same time, there's some smaller countries or people that I deal with. For example, I just had a consultation for a marriage case from Kenya, and just don't handle Kenyan cases often. So the first thing I did is I went to the Department of State DOS statistics, and I checked out what the current, and I've talked about this before. Sorry if it's repetitive, but it's just so important as help. I check out the current visa issuances, then I compare pre-COVID what it was, and if they're in line, at least I know the similar numbers. I know that they're moving things forward. Now, in between that time, there's going to be a pause where nothing's issued, which means there's a huge backlog of cases, the big line. But I want to know if the line's even moving in the first place to tell clients about that. I've had fiancés that broke up because the wait's going to be too long. And I've told people, your case in particular is going to take more than 2 years because of the country they're from and the embassy situation. And that was 2 years too many. So that was a sad situation that popped up a couple times. USCIS removes barrier to U.S. citizenship for children born abroad through assisted reproductive technology. And this has been a problem because the law is pretty settled about, it's particularly pops up in same-sex couples to guys that have like a woman, and nowadays you can't terminology, but I'm just going to use the terminology I think is appropriate. But two guys have a woman carry their baby, and depending on the seed, the DNA of the sperm, which partner was, if it was the non-citizen one, does the child become a citizen or not? And court cases have said yes, they do. It doesn't matter. But DOS has been suing back and forth. Eventually, they had to come to accept this, and USCIS also removed this and updated their internal policy. Okay, lawsuit filed to prevent 100,000 employment-based green cards from expiring. Well, as we know now, October 11th, they did expire. What a mess. At least we got to save a couple of these diversity visa cases, but not enough. Visa processing for Russians just got worse. Practice alert U.S. Consular Service in Russia. DOS Liaison Committee provides a practice alert regarding U.S. mission. So essentially, starting August 2021, the U.S. government is prohibited from hiring Russian or third country staff at U.S. diplomatic facilities in Russia. Well, as you can imagine, Russian cases were just not even moving in the first place. We have to send them to other countries, but this just makes it worse. And I deal with Iranian cases, which is typically like one of the worst hit countries when it comes to visa processing. But they're kind of in line with Russia, despite you be able to do certain things Russia can with Iran. The Russians are treated pretty badly when it comes to visa processing. Reports coming in that USCIS is texting adjustment applicants to mail in their I-693s prior to getting an RFE. So right now it's October, but before the deadline of the fiscal year for the U.S. government expiring, the visas being lost, we're getting word that the field officers were calling people and texting them saying, hey, just mail it in, which, as y'all know, it's a pretty risky maneuver to do because the I-693 could change. I mean, could get sent to the wrong place, not get connected. But, it's just, it was a weird situation. Luckily, I got a couple of cases approved. Clients are so happy. I mean, if you're an employment-based immigration lawyer and you had cases in September that got approved and got the green card, your clients are loving you, man. My clients, I got a really expensive bottle of whiskey sent to me by one client. I was loving it. It was very delicious. I don't even drink that much, but when you get some high-end, top-shelf kind of stuff, it's pretty good. Overseas-based Aussie travel exemption stripped in latest crackdown. So Australia is a mess. I'm very disappointed in that country, the people of that country, for accepting this kind of crackdown where they can't leave their house. And if you're Australian and if you're in another country like the U.S., which you're probably getting calls from Australians, I am a lot, but they can't even go back to their home country. It sort of eased up the numbers, but there's a period where if you're Australian, you couldn't even go back to Australia because of overzealous ban on travel that they had. So it's a disappointment to see what's going on in that country. I'll leave it at that. Biden administration increases border deportation prosecution. So the border situation, which I don't even get, it's too much. Hot mess, and it gets hotter. There was the whole thing with the Haitians coming in. I don't understand. Look, I didn't study into it too much, but apparently the Haitians were in Chile. And again, I didn't do the full research, but they were saying that Haitians, which are Caribbean people, they went all the way to Chile, which is the southern hemisphere, pretty much the tip. And then they walked out of caravan. They walked, what is it, Himalayas they walked through? How did that happen? I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I saw a scary true movie of those soccer players who plane crash in the Andes, not Himalayas. Himalayas is in north of India, but the Andes, and they have to live. I'm like, how did they? And they have to live off eating each other. Horrible story, horrible true story. But if Haitians have to walk from Chile to here, that's nuts. So I'm not sure what's going on, how they found their way to Chile and back. No way they walked it. That's pretty insane. I would have been stopped along the way. Sometimes these things seem maybe they're photo ops because it comes at the perfect time in a perfect situation. It just that. Not to say these poor people coming here are fleeing all this kind of stuff, but it seems on both sides when it comes to the politics of it, they're always inching towards getting a particular photo or particular story out that it's just this weird situation that pop up. It's like, how did that happen? But it does happen. And I remember I have a colleague who listens on the show a lot, a regular listener. I don't want to mention her name because I don't know, she may not get permission, but she was telling me about a year ago that they were getting a lot of people from West Africa showing up at the US-Mexican border, which I was surprised because you didn't hear about it in the news. I think she was saying like the number one group right now coming at the border is not even Mexican or Salvador or whatever, Salvadorian. They're like Cameroonians from Cameroon. I was like, what? I wasn't expecting that. So it's a weird situation. All right, so the Afghan situation, which I have no idea what's going on. I just get 10 emails a day about it of people from Afghan wanting to flee and do special immigrant visas and P3, P4. I have no idea what's going on there. I'm trying to find someone to write an article for this upcoming issue, so we need one really quick and have it. Find one that just explains what you have to do to help these Afghan clients whose families are stuck or they're translators, the whole situation. I just don't do humanitarian cases, so I'm not up on it. I don't know what's going on, but I was really hoping to find someone that could write something about it, but have been unsuccessful so far. Hopefully, if you know what's going on, immediately contact me. We'll try to get an article in the November edition of the Toolbox. Not much time left for that, but hopefully do it. All right, U.S. Department of State. Now, one thing for those watching, I haven't reviewed these beforehand, so when I'm going through these news bits, some of them like, oh, what does this mean? I can't remember, or something's not important, blah, blah, blah. So bear with me. The U.S. State Department has published, hat tip to Liam Schwartz, one of the editors, editorial board members of the Toolbox, effective August relating to consular officers and certain other diplomats, blah, blah. The new policy relates in part to A1 visa eligibility. Under the policy, foreign consular officers are expected to hold their position for no more than 5 years total for A1s. The State Department did not publish the reason underlying this new policy. It is noteworthy that foreign consular officers are now expected to spend less time in the U.S. than foreign business executives, foreign experts, H-1B, L-1s, and foreign investors, E-2s. Well, I can imagine they don't want these consular officers for A-1s abroad. Foreign consular officers get too comfortable here, maybe like a spy thing to avoid, I don't know. All right, the I-485 was updated again. They added a social security card question there. It's already on the I-765, but many people don't file the I-765 with the application. So it's good to have that in one place. Let's see how it all plays out. Immigrant investors and investment loan proceeds. Okay, so EB-5 investment loan proceeds had an update. I won't go into that anymore. There was an article by Reason.com that said Americans can't travel because the State Department employees won't work. Apparently, the State Department employees are not going back to work, and that's the reason, that according to the article. We'll see. Iowa's largest pork producer calls for immigration reform. So, especially with the amount of the employment need. I mean, everywhere you're seeing signs, employment needed, and people aren't going for them. That really increase the need, especially for fundamental stuff like pork and stuff. But at the same time, I got to play devil's advocate. They're saying the people who work in these positions in these factories and these farms are getting paid nil, and so the quality of work goes down, all this kind of stuff. And when you're dealing with food, that's really important. Now, ideally, just have domestic workers pay them well, do it. Very dangerous work, very hectic and uncomfortable work to do. But I don't know their profit margins. Maybe they can't afford to go and hire. I don't know. But that's something to think about. Former U.S. government employee pleads guilty to sexual abuse and obscenity offenses committed over 14 years. Former U.S. government, let me see what the hell is going on here. Who's this government employee? What position were they in? According to blah, blah, blah. Okay, recently employed by the U.S. government at the U.S. Embassy in Mexico City, Raymond departed Mexico after an adult woman was observed nude and screaming for help from his balcony May 31st. The woman reported she had no memory of events after consuming drinks and food provided by Raymond. That's horrible, 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 disgusting. But that happens, unfortunately. Biden administration to resume fast-track deportation procedures for migrant families. So the Trump policy wasn't that much of a departure from typical U.S. policy at the border. Applicants for change of status to F1 students no longer need to submit subsequent applications to bridge the gap. This is excellent news. I still don't fully understand how to do these change of status F1s, and I'm afraid to post them. And so I just tell people to do consular processing or somewhere else, especially because it's just like, my practice is so hyper-focused on marriage cases, it's a distraction. But one thing you had to do, so this was so annoying. So when someone comes on a tourist visa, then just change the status to F1 from I-539, they had made it where you have to file another extension of B2 while also filing for change of status. Doesn't make sense, waste of money, so stupid to file two things with competing intent. So, but that's the way they made it. Now for the instructions for Form I-539, they said everyone doing change of status has to file this bridge B2 to hold them over, which becomes problematic because if you're an L2 or an H4 and you're doing change of status, did you need to do that? I would never do that. They're still getting approved. But the way the instructions used to be listed was like that. But they updated, for sure, the F1 needed to bridge the gap, meaning have continuous lawful status until the F1's approved or until 30 days before the start date. But they said the B2 gap extension is not needed anymore. I'm not sure how that's going to actually play out because these I-539s are taking over a year. I'm getting F1 change of status, B2 extension of status for people who waited a year just to get the biometrics appointment, a new requirement that started under the Trump administration, which is ridiculous, unnecessary, caused huge delays. But it's just such a mess. So it's just disturbing. I mean, a lot of people with B2s waiting a year, they want to leave, but they're afraid if they leave, it'll cause problems. It's just a mess. China announced last week that it would temporarily stop issuing entry and exit documents to Chinese citizens. That's weird, but okay. Department of Justice wrong to bring tweets into visa suit, attorney says. So I think it was Curtis Morrison was saying, why is DOJ bringing my tweets into this? He is a serial tweeter, but he's had some successes, so God bless him in the fight. Citizenship requirement will be waived for many LA County government jobs. So that's an interesting thing. They're changing things up. Let's see, 6 year. Okay, one of really supporters of the immigration system, Cesar Garcia Hernandez Cuauhtemoc. I mean, I've interviewed him, but he's a professor. He used to practice remote defense in Texas. I was at Colorado. I think he moved to a different school. I posted about that. I forgot which one it was. Ohio State University. But he published a book in August. It was called Crimmigration Law, second edition. Real hardcore crimmigration attorney. God bless him. We have job openings. We have so many job openings. And I'm just posting on LinkedIn and I post them on the Instagram page too for Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. But one here, come join us, looking to join a law clerk, employment base, Sarah Peterson. There's a lot more. I think I'm not going to mention them on this because it'll get boring if I keep mentioning job openings. But what I do want to mention is if you're not following Ryan Knight, Ryan spelled R-Y-A-N, last name Knight, K-N-I-G-H-T. Very interesting character. He's going to be actually contributing a lot of articles to the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine. But he does something I like to do, or at least I used to do when I practice business-based cases, which is to read all the AAO decisions on the cases, and he posts them. He posts them for free. In particular, he did one where that's where it caught my attention. 01 trends at the AAO 2020 year in review, reviewing all of them and talking about trends he's seen. If you're doing 01 practice, if you're doing H1B practice, this is the guy to follow. I have the L1A corner. I think I'm going to do another one where I recap some big AO decisions or report once to learn about L1A, EB1C decisions. I'll be in the magazine if I get around to writing that one, which I got to do. But Ryan Knight, very interesting character that sits and read these and shares. God bless him. It's really cool stuff. All right, USCI is temporarily extending validity period for I-693s beginning August 12th. USCIS is extending the I-693 from 2 years to 4 years. Which sounds good, but at the same time, that means they're really expecting huge delays coming. So that's messed up. There's more. We're going to talk about the I-693s in a moment. U.S. to expand online asylum registration amid unprecedented border arrivals. We'll see if that actually works. Visa bulletin's coming out. Interestingly, the visa bulletin for employment base for EB1 through 4, at least, will say use date of filing. So be mindful of that. It's October now. I was actually, because they always do date of the final action date. So I was expecting that. Actually, my client was like, hey, are they doing data filing? I'm like, wait, you're right. USCI said they'll accept that. So be mindful of that. They're not to miss out on that. Let's see what else. State Department ruled to waive more in-person interviews. Hey, let's see. They issued a final rule. We'll see what actually happens with that, how the final version of that looks like. U.S. Embassy in Afghanistan. This was August 15th. Essentially saying you're screwed. New edition I-485. I'm skimming through a lot of what I do is these clips I also post on LinkedIn page. I usually try reading off the clips so you have some interest in them, but I don't want to bother you guys to make this even longer podcast. Okay, the State Department visa issuing authority is in crisis. This is from foreignpolicy.com. how the worst consular system in the world was turned around and why it needs to happen again. It's Christopher Richardson, a colleague and former consular officer, wrote about this, about changing the visa issuance system. All right, DHS and DOJ published notice of proposed rulemaking that would allow asylum officers to fully adjudicate cases previously assigned to immigration judges. So that's going to be interesting because that's going to take the case outside the immigration court system potentially. Does that give them a chance of having that backup of suing? That's going to be really interesting, forcing everything as an affirmative case. It's going to be, again, interesting to see what happens with that. Let's see what else is next. Wow, I published so much media. You guys got to catch this. So much good stuff. Like these interviews, the interview I did with Katia Quiros, talking about how she developed her law practice and her social media marketing. It's really something to watch. And if you can't listen to the whole thing, just look at these clips talking about her law practice before and after social media, how much of an impact it had. And about more than half of my cases right now come from my social media presence. It's so important. I used to, be on directory sites and this and that, and pay a little bit here and Yelp and all that. But I was like, dude, if I just make this content, it's just going to stay. So it's a bit of godsend. Justice Alito blocks Remain in Mexico relaunch for now. I think it still went through or something like that. I don't know. Note the I-130 and I-601 were updated, and that's annoying because I-130s, they updated last second. The I-130A as well was updated. Definitely be mindful of that. Let's see, new rules for visitors to the consular section. Expect to see the same rules come into force to the consulate near you from Link Shorts. All individuals over the age of 14 visiting the consular section will be required to show either proof of a COVID vaccine or a negative PCR or antigen test administered within 3 days. This is from the U.S. Embassy in Curacao. I think that's in Mexico, or where's Curacao? That's in Venezuela, I think. Curacao, I think. Judge pauses ICE order to expand detention pending appeal. Okay, green card applicants must be fully vaxxed against the virus. So this was the big thing that popped up, and it's rules now. But if you're going to be an immigrant visa adjustment applicant, when you're doing the medical, you have to do the COVID-19 test. Vaccine. That's if it's accepted by U.S. and if it's possible in the country you come from, all that kind of stuff. And it was like a mad dash because when this originally came out, I had a lot of clients who said they don't want to do it. What do we got to do? So we have to quickly say, hey, go and do your medical checkup, get it done, and come, and then we'll file it. And now everyone's got to do it. There are exemptions. I was reading it. It's very hard to get an exemption, nearly impossible. But one thing that just ended up happening is, so my clients were going these medicals, constantly getting to the doctors, doing it wrong, filling it out incorrectly, missing pages, missing signatures, missing boxes, have to redo them again. I had one client, the closest civil surgeon was 2 hours away. So they have to go, come back, and then they realized there was an error on there, go, come back again, realize an error a third time. I had to, I was on the phone with them. We had to go together, email it to me to make sure it's right, because these poor people spent 4, 8, 12 hours of just driving back and forth because the doctors were just not paying attention. So ridiculous. Just a mess for that to happen. DOJ settles claims against Ameritech Global for discriminating against U.S. workers. Another editorial board member, Bruce Buchanan, very kind. He's going to be on talking about I-9, his specialty in the magazine. Director of Justice Department announced that it signed a settlement with Ameritech Global IT staff recruiting. The settlement results claims that Ameritech is discriminating against U.S. workers. So those lawsuits are still happening. Afghan parole policy. So again, if there's someone out there read an article about that, that was a policy that published guidance for immigration processing of Afghan citizens during Operation Allies Refuge or Refugees. I think they changed that program name since then. Okay, let's see what the news. A lot of videos on news. As I always talk about, Robert Weber, a colleague, started his own private practice. So definitely support him. I think he's in Minnesota. Always, posting some interesting things about the U.S. immigration system. Very knowledgeable gentleman. Let's see. U.S. refugee admissions program priority 2 designation of Afghan nationals. So that's the DOS talking about the P2 program. Let's see. What is this about? Robert Weber saying, if you practice EB immigration law, an important part of your job is taking things seriously and trying to get your clients to take things seriously as well. It's about Department of Labor stuff. Sorry, I'm just going to skip that. They have so many videos of doing, man. You guys got to check this out. ICE announces extension to new employee guidance. So I-9 flexibility continues. And USCIS actually extended their time frame for responding to RFEs and the like. So that's really important. Amazon and Google and Microsoft and other tech companies are in a frenzy to help ICE build its own data mining tools for targeting unauthorized workers. There's pushback from their employees, so they're developing behind the scenes different ways to try to get that in. New immigration court fee rule coming in January, feds say, so that's gonna be a big jump up. Man arrested on charges of $21 million H-1B visa fraud conspiracy. Wow, that's a lot of money. You get that money, you run. I'm not sure why people just stay in the US. You get the money and you run. USCIS extends evidence of status for conditional. So this was good. I mean, again, it's good as always a double-edged sword with USCIS. So they're extending the I-751s and I-829s, the conditional green card, when you renew them and they expired, you renew it. You used to get an automatic extension with a receipt. Now they're extending it from 18 to 24 months, which is good. But what about you just process them faster? Now, having said that, my 751 cases for the most part are happening much faster. I got a couple approved in 6 months recently, which was amazing. But at least they got it for 2 years, because the worst thing is if you had an 18-month extension on I-751 and it takes more than 18 months, getting an info pass appointment to get an added stamp in your passport is such a nightmare. So I'm glad that one has moved forward. All right, so we're in September now. We're almost halfway through of the agency updates. Now there's just so many job openings at different places, from Fragment to I don't know. I skipped through all other parts, but there's a lot of work in immigration. It's just amazing how much the growth is happening. Justice Department continues to insist the immigration judges union is defunct, despite moving to nullify decertification decisions. So this madness continues. Colleague James Hollis says last fall, USCI has decided to stop allowing pro wrestlers to use the P1A athlete visa category, changing 30 years of precedent on how all of the wrestling companies get visas for international talent. Their reasoning: the matches are fake. This is according to his Twitter account. Our colleague Sabrina Mass says the Ninth Circuit has determined that the Board of Immigration Appeals 2013 decision in Cortez Medina find that a California conviction for indecent exposure is a crime involving moral turpitude presumptively cannot be retroactively applied to a 2011 conviction, because the Ninth Circuit held in 2010 in Nunez that the conviction was not a crime involving moral turpitude. This is why I try to avoid cases that are circuit-based, because there's just so much back and forth happening. But God bless Sabrina, another editorial board member. I mean, listen, if you haven't read the Immigration Toolbox magazine, we're packing it with the top talent experts in the field. I'm really proud. This is a game changer in the immigration game, this magazine. Great colleagues. TPS was extended: El Salvador, Haiti, Honduras, Nepal, Nicaragua, and Sudan. So a lot of good stuff there. Jackson Lewis, who probably we're going to have a couple of lawyers, editorial board members, expanding as well. Police announced Brenda Oliver joined their team. So Jackson Lewis really expanding. I mean, firms are getting bigger and bigger. People are growing. Green Spiegel in Pennsylvania has added people across the country. Fragment is. Bao got Jeff Joseph. And I know this gentleman, I've interviewed him, but he got two first names that confused me. Jeff Joseph is what I believe his name is. Left his own firm where spouse and partners are and joined Bao. I mean, that's a wild situation. Love to have him on and see what's going on there. Greg Siskin, lawsuits are moving forward. Really important win today in their Go litigation on behalf of Diversity Visa 2020 visa applicants. And just a funny note to remember, their GOH in Farsi means, what's the proper way to put it? Feces. And so there's a lot of Iranians in this DV lottery case. And so they're all like, oh, feces won essentially when they're talking about it. But they've been doing some really good stuff with, Jeff Joseph's team, Joseph and Hall, Cuck Baxter, Charles Cuck's team in Georgia. They had another decision, Kingsley, which is based on Judge Medda's decision, said earlier that on these travel bans, it doesn't mean the embassy can't issue the visas. It just means the people who get the visas may not be able to enter. Because what happened is, we say they do an EU travel ban because of COVID, the embassies will not even schedule an interview to issue the visa. But that's incorrect, because the person has to be able to get the visa. They won't be able to enter the United States because they've been in a banned country for the last two weeks, but they could then go to another third-party country and wait it out. But because they would not issue the visas, they didn't even give them the opportunity to do the wait out, which is ridiculous, frustrating. So much business, so many people's livelihoods got messed up because they can't do cross-border trade. It's just madness that they do stuff like this. So I'm really happy about these kind of decisions and the litigation that's happening in these areas. It's wonderful. Now, Stephen Yollaire, a great colleague, immigration expert and professor at Cornell Law with the students, have created a refugee assistant list. So if you go to Cornell Law School or type that in, or just use Cornell Refugee Assistance Resource List, that's going to be a great place for you to be able to find information. Who knows, if I can't get the person to write an article about it, I might just ask permission and copy paste this page in the magazine for Immigration Toolbox for resources. That was too long. This is like how many pages is this? 4 pages, not too long. Make the font smaller or something. Try to figure out some ways to help people in this practice area. All right, so Robert Brewer says 3,200% increase in asylum for people from Turkey between 2010 and 2019. And Turkey's been going nuts, but China, Venezuela top the list of the asylum cases. Fragments, UK immigration schools are expanding internationally. The U.S. Embassy in India has been posting a lot of information because, as you can imagine, like Indians populations like that get hit really hard with these wild visa decisions. So they're using their Twitter account in particular to kind of share information. So that's an interesting thing to keep in mind. California bar to attorneys disable Alexa when from working from home. So yeah, keep in mind, Alexa is always listening. And frankly, my Mac is listening, my phone's listening. It's really hard to do anything. I don't know if privacy exists at all, but at least they're saying California bar, don't put Alexa in your office where they could, end up recording something that you don't want recorded. Let's see, Activi's Bulletin. Okay, so we're getting close. We're in November or September 15th. Dedicated docket may overwhelm immigration courts. I bet it will. That's what other fun stuff can we talk about? So many jobs, geez, it's just a booming field we're in. How ICE uses Interpol to deport immigrants who could wrongly be accused of crimes. And actually, we're going to have an article on this. A really good colleague, I think Brad Simpson's name, won a really interesting case about these Interpol notices, and he was able to fix one up where the country of Russia had posed not a red notice, but some other type of notice. He was able to work and fix it up. He's going to do an article explaining what he did in case other people want to learn from it. Damn, the magazine is so cool. Like, it's so much good information. Check it out. That one's he's going to have an article with me in a few weeks, and we'll have it in the November edition, how to deal with this nuanced aspect of when there's an Interpol notice that could affect your client's case in the United States. All right, let's see what other fun stuff is going on. Suspended immigration attorney admits to visa fraud. Ugh, what a terrible thing to see. So apparently, a suspended immigration attorney from Northern California pled guilty to visa fraud, leaving her on the line to a maximum 10-year prison sentence, DOJ announced. Apparently, this person was submitting cases and then having the G28 be another lawyer. It's kind of a wild situation, putting the other lawyer under problems too. That happened. Let's see. Ooh, so many jobs. Wow, just nonstop. All these job postings are. I can't believe there's so much immigration jobs. Sorry to keep repeating that, but the feed is constantly just job postings. I can't believe it. A reminder for those who are, course members. The next office hours, we're gonna have an hour talking about practice, is on September 23rd. It's always a Thursday, third Thursday of the month, 10 a.m. Pacific time, so you can catch that. One thing, we have another regular contributor. It's a marketing editorial board member, I guess, but Nadine Heights. We do interviews. She and Ksenia Marova talk a lot about a program called pipefile.com for transferring cases. I did an interview with her talking about what is Pipefile, what it is, and she has a separate video recording she did about how she uses it. Very interesting stuff to check out. If you want to catch the clip of it explaining what Pipefile is and how she uses it, check it out on the LinkedIn page, or better yet, you probably find it on either the YouTube page for the Immigration Learners Toolbox. We have a really good YouTube page, but as well as the Instagram page. It's a way to transfer your files and kind of keep track of it and force clients to do it properly instead of just emailing you 1,000 documents. It has some security features too, so that's something to really look into. Okay, Customs and Border Protection ordered to disclose social media surveillance rules. That's gonna be interesting when that comes out. All right, so we're at September 26th. Well, we're almost here. Okay, let's see the new stuff. I-130 processing times. Biden administration avails new DACA for rules for migrants. I read through the DACA rule, the proposed rule. Wasn't too much different. They specifically say DACA doesn't accumulate a lawful presence, but it's not status and stuff like that. It wasn't too much of a big thing in the new DACA rule. We'll see what happens with it. There's been NTA BIA decision on notice of appear about time and space. I do in-depth interviews with Kevin Gregg, partner at the Kurzman firm. Watch those about NTAs because I don't touch them. I don't want to be here giving opinions. Now, the USCIS extended flexibility day goes for all cases filed through March 1st, 2020 through January 15, 2022. Whole January 2021, all of it, we had these longer extension time responses, which I think they should go into normal time because sometimes, we get I-130 people contacting me where they got a notice of intent to deny it on I-130, and they only give you like 30 days. And by the time you get the notice, a lot of times it takes a couple of days. And the post office says they're slowing delivery down. So you might have half the time lost on a 30-day deadline for filing a notice of intent to deny response or an RFE, where they give you, instead of 87 days, they give you like 30 days. So this should just stay. I think this policy of having at least 3 months to respond should be the way to go. I mean, it's hard getting documents a lot of times, so it's not fair that they do that. I'm glad that at least they've been doing that. Hopefully, they become standard operating procedures. Palladium Equity Partners invest in Envoy Global, a tech-enabled employee base. So Envoy Global, big immigration tech kind of play. They're getting private equity, get into it. That's what I'm saying. There's so many jobs in immigration. These big companies are growing. There's just so much business going around. It's very interesting to see how that's all going to go. Croatia designated as new participant in the visa waiver program. That's interesting. That's good. Just keep an eye out. So we have Croatian clients. Let them know ESTA is possible. And should we maybe just end this on October 1st? So there's a clear cutoff. But thank you, everyone who watched and listened. This was just what happened recently in the immigration system. Hopefully, I'll do these more, month to month as I was going to do. We're going to have a separate one where I talk about the Ombudsman's report, which I wrote it up months ago, but I haven't published it yet. And also my thoughts on different things I've learned in immigration law. That'll pop up, plus interviews and a lot more. There's certain things you enjoy more about what I do or certain things like tweak. I'd love to have a better system that really fits your needs. So let me know. Email me at info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com to tell me your thoughts about the program, to reach out, just say hi. If you're interested in any of the products, training courses, anything, just reach out, let me know. I really want to keep building this infrastructure of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox to really provide the support that you need to both become a better immigration attorney, just to know what's going on with the law, but also to promote your business. And that's what a big part of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine is to give an opportunity to new people to get their names out there. There's always going to be rotation on the editorial boards, increasing the editorial boards, and just having one-off articles from people who have expertise and have had to deal with certain kind of cases to share that information to, again, market your brand, as well as, become a podcast so we talk about it, as well as to increase education. I think these are pretty noble goals to have for an organization. So I feel really good about, talking about the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox and all the products we provide. And I thank all the sponsors as well. Well, I guess with that, everyone, have a good time. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.